Double exposure.
If I weren't on that show, I'd feel very, very unhappy.
Terrible, pernicious, misleading, blasphemous, libelous program.
I've listened to it many times, but as I listen to him impersonating me, I'm not so sure.
CBC phoned me and they said, Don, we'd like you to voice over, and we're going to have a dummy. Now, don't say a word. I know you're a dummy.
From Vancouver, it's Double Exposure. Starring...
That's the sound of CBC Radio's newest network comedy show, Double Exposure. But what happens behind the microphones?
I don't know, Turner and us, maybe, like, preparing for the opening of Parliament.
Turner?
Again. Yeah,
Well, originally I had made this little note, the real Turner, where they asked him about the speech from the throne, and he just did his usual, well, there was no mention in there of this, there was no mention in there of that, I thought you could really be silly.
Yeah.
Two people in a cluttered office bringing you the world. The many voices behind Double Exposure are Linda Cullen and Bob Robertson. Two funny bones bouncing off today's headlines.
Okay, so what really makes us laugh, at least in our minds anyway, are the real stories that come out, like the bus incident on Parliament Hill. First we wait, nobody gets hurt or injured, then we say, boom.
That's important.
Yeah.
I mean, I read in the paper this morning, the guy, the hijacker, he had decided to give up. He was going to surrender. A guy from Quebec is on the bus. He's saying, no, don't surrender. They haven't met all your demands yet. Oh, something's wrong here.
It could be there forever. Right.
Only in Canada.
No kidding.
Monday through Friday, editorial cartoonists take their shots at our newsmakers, but on the weekends, Double Exposure makes Canada listen and laugh, including those who are the targets of their sharp, satirical wit.
It's the only way I know of keeping up to date with Pat Carney.
Thank you.
Okay, so,
Okay, where are you up to?
But keeping up with the funny side of the news is a long, involved job. Monday morning, the first ingredients for another episode are sifted into the creative blender.
How about this? Canada will be populated primarily by people from ...
Puerto Rico.
Which is his home in the off-season.
What's fresh? What's hot? What's unbelievable? Who's doing it? All of these questions come together through Bob and Linda to form the flow of this week's humor, or as they put it, one mind, two straws.
It really is hard work. We have a lot of late nights where we sit bashing our head against a wall wondering if we're ever going to be funny again.
So I wear my bangs down.
And
I don't see the scars.
it's so much fun we don't notice it.
I don't know, it hasn't affected us too much, has it?
Another part of the fun is capturing the essence of a character's voice, setting up the credibility for the ridiculous. But there's more to it than that. Arts critic Max Wyman.
And this is a show that isn't milquetoast. It picks out its targets and goes and hits them nice and hard. I like that.
For the show to be successful, the quality of the writing has to be as good as the quality of the voices, I think.
So who are these people anyway? Bob Robertson started his comedy in high school thanks to a teacher who encouraged his students to speak their essays. Bob wrote and spoke his to get laughs.
I've never been a clown, and because I'm not a clown. But what I was the class intellectual humorist.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Bob's inspiration came from tuning in to Max Ferguson, another man who found humor in the daily headlines. Years later, Bob's talent gives him a healthy living on the rubber chicken circuit.
I realize that some of you don't know that I am an athlete, but it's true, you know. I may not have been great on my feet, but in salmon arm, I dazzled them with my finger. I think you remember that.
It just seemed that was what I was destined to be. A real serious looking guy, you know. Really upright, morally perfect sort of person with a totally warped mind. And that's what I've become.
As a typical high school teenager, Linda developed a sense of humor, but in a slightly goofier way.
In school, Linda, were you a class clown?
Yeah. Terrible, isn't it? Tragic, isn't it?
No, that's great. Were you
Linda soaked up the visual gags of TV stars like Carol Burnett and Lily Tomlin, but she also loves verbal humor, and that helps get jobs recording commercials.
But when I got into college, I found I really liked radio.
Bob and Linda met in radio, where they discovered a shared, if twisted, view of the world. Inevitably, they brought their collection of voices to CBC in hopes of subjecting the entire country to their humor.
We did a special for CBC in March of '86. No, yeah?
Yes.
God, time flies when you're in a coma. March of '86, spring break.
Today, Robertson and Cullen are the latest in a long and great tradition of Canadian radio comedy, going back to shows like The Happy Gang, Rawhide, Funny You Should Say That, and the Royal Canadian Air Farce. Now, it's Friday afternoon, taping day for Gags of This Week.
Hello, Robert. How are you doing?
Hi, good. I'm just doing the credits.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes to be in the studio.
Yeah.
It's 25 after 2, 2:30. You're doing the Dove inquiry?
Yes.
Okay.
Time to commit the craziness to tape.
Boy, this better be fun.
We've got the horses. We've got
Oil bubbling?
oil bubbling.
Part of the appeal, I think, of double exposure is that it's a spontaneous, quick, unplanned, unpredictable sort of approach to doing a show. It's reflected in the material we cover.
Todd Elvidge. Officially, he's listed as the producer of Double Exposure, but that really means equal parts English teacher and ringmaster.
Bob and Linda put in some incredible hours. Gary gives extra time, and everybody sort of feels that it's their thing, and we all feel a part of it. We all want it to be perfect every week.
From these two microphones and these two music stands spring hundreds of voices.
Is that not the most amazing thing
That
to
is
ever heard
amazing.
in your life?
And
I'm stunned sometimes by it.
I'm usually stunned all the time.
So,
I tend to like the English traditional of sort of political satire, the sort of collegiate humor. I like humor that makes you think. I'd rather the punchline was implied rather than be there. Just throwing the banana peel on the ground is good enough for me. I don't have to see the guy step on it and fall on his keister.
We make do with what we've got.
Luckily for Double Exposure, there's no shortage of humor in the halls of Parliament. But politics aren't the only targets of their sharp lampoons. Even Canada's sacred cow, hockey, gets milked for laughs.
With the Don Cherry, you have to understand what makes him tick. When he says things like, all right, look, something that, like really upsets me a whole lot. I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't like all them wimps out there.
The problem with God, he may sound like me, but he don't look like me, I'll tell you that.
I guess the main thing is to try and keep real people in unreal situations.
Each character has a doorway to get into them, if I can put it that way. So Ed's doorway always seems to be, oh, well, I think I know what you're talking about. I'm outraged.
CBC,
Publicly, oh.
I thought you wrote their script.
I'm really outraged now that you've told me this. This is scandalous, and I'm going to go and do something about it right now. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's fantastic to be here today, Terry, because, and particularly because I can see you're dressed in your gardening clothes.
He's making it sound as though I just stepped off a boat. He gives me this broad accent. I don't think I sound that bad. So I have my doubts about some of that, but he's a great guy otherwise.
I am their main source of employment, so they have a very good relationship with me.
It's easy to take shots behind the safety of a studio microphone, but what's it like being exposed yourself to a live audience of favorite targets that can shoot back? The occasion this weekend was a tribute to one of Linda's altered egos, Pat Carney.
Thank you, Bob. And by the way, despite the fact that you poke fun at the way I speak, I really don't talk like that at all.
Boss, look, Pat. Here comes an old cabinet colleague of yours. Unemployment Minister Barbara McDougal.
Oh, Pat, we missed you already in cabinet. All those bossy men, and oh, by the way, Pat.
The thing is, though, with Pat retiring now, are you going to be able to be controversial enough to keep Linda at work?
Well, I'll do my best. So far, I'm doing all right.
How long can we keep going? I don't know. What hour is it now?
I guess it's however long you can keep signing contracts for. I don't know. My hand feels pretty healthy.